right, we're talking South Carolina, and this week we're talking South Carolina, Kentucky, with the Wildcats on hand. Also a 2-0 start, but a little less impressive with basically one score wins against Eastern Kentucky. Also Southern Miss in the opener. Stephen Johnson, a guy that when you look at the numbers, it's kind of interesting where the Wildcats have been a team that's been very versatile on offense in recent years and thrown it around a little bit, but not so much these first two games with 42 pass attempts. So what do we know about the Wildcats thus far?
Well, there's a team that's struggled offensively. They've got some injuries along the offensive line. They've had to shuffle guys. They've not run the ball as effectively with Benny Snell Jr. as they have in the past. Benny Snell was very good last year, and this year really has not performed well until about the second half of the Eastern Kentucky game. Whether you attribute that to Kentucky coming together or a lack of depth, taking on an FBS team for Eastern Kentucky, contributing to Kentucky finally getting the ground game going. I think it's going to be fascinating to see Stephen Johnson, 16-22 last week, threw 223 yards and a touchdown, but it's a step up. South Carolina's defense is opportunistic. They can force turnovers, and they do seem to be getting a little bit better each week. Say what you want about the Missouri game. South Carolina had one busted play for a touchdown. 61-yard busted play up the seam, and Missouri will get some teams on that as the season goes along. South Carolina's not going to be the only one who falls prey to that. So they might still give up yards, but this isn't a quarterback who's necessarily going to beat you with his arm. That'll allow Will Muschamp, Travaris Robbins probably to sell out to stop the run, which is that's been a little bit of a concern for Kentucky. So offensively for Kentucky, not the team I think they were hoping for through two games. Maybe that can change Saturday night. Defensively, they've taken the football away from people, but the secondary's been the issue. Southern Mississippi passed for 300 yards. Eastern Kentucky was able to find some holes in their zone defense last week, and Eastern Kentucky was up in that ball game kind of late there and going into the fourth quarter. I think it was actually a one-point game. Kentucky was up 17-16. So, that's a team that has not clicked out of the gate, but they have a great opportunity to do so on Saturday night when they come into Columbia.
Hey, Will, getting back to the Gamecocks, it's two wins. It's two impressive wins against teams that it could have gone either way going into the game, at least. A 3-point underdog in Columbia, Mizzou. We don't want to nitpick here. You're not going to play perfect football. Nobody across the country does, even the elite teams. There are things to shore up. But can you point out one or two aspects, even offensively, defensively, whatever it is that you're thinking, hey, this team has a chance if they can shore this up, or this guy can step up a little bit?
Well, I think offensively, you think if the offensive line can do what they did in the second half against Missouri, and that's generate a running game, this team, Jay Bentley's going to be fine. I think he's been a little off in his first two games, but he's been fine. Maybe our expectations were too high. If that offensive line shores up that running game, and they can get push as they did against a good, not great, but good front for Missouri, who knows where this offense goes? Because then you start talking about controlling the ball, keeping the ball in possession more, maybe adding up more yards. Defensively, I don't know what they can shore up. Obviously, we can talk about stopping the run. We can talk about slowing down the pass. I just don't know if they have the personnel to be able to consistently do it this year. That's just something that, going back to what we discussed last week and earlier here, giving up yards, bending but not breaking, teams getting inside the 25-yard line, trying to either force a turnover or hold them to a field goal. I'm not sure what South Carolina can really hold them. I think what you're hoping, if you want an answer, is that big old 6'5", 6'6" Javon Kinlaw, who's now down to about 305 pounds, can continue to progress. Last week he blocked the field goal. He tipped a pass that led to an interception. This is a kid who was highly thought of, who came in from Jones Community College, has 3 years to play, has 3 years of eligibility, he has 3 years to play. You know how it can take junior college players a bit longer, but he's a different kind of player on the interior of the defensive line that South Carolina has that can eat up double teams and can create some havoc in there. He's having to make the adjustment. The quicker he can adjust, the more snaps they can get out of him, maybe the better the interior of that defensive line is. So that would be the one thing you maybe say, okay, if that guy can improve, maybe the defense can take a small step forward.